Hi everybody, I'm Katnarine Baclawski and I'm here to present to you my creative critical reflection for my media studies opening sequence, All In. The first question I'm supposed to answer is, how do your products use or challenge conventions and how do they represent social groups or issues? I would say our title sequence definitely uses conventions. It's very traditional. It's two teenagers going on a road trip. It's not really out of the norm. There's no real cultural diversity. Our costumes are casual. They're normal clothes, t-shirts, jeans, jackets. We definitely represent the teen and young adult social group throughout our film. It shows teens' adventurous spirit and how they interact with life and how they're carefree. We use a variety of shots and angles. In order to retain the audience's attention, we made sure our editing was simple so it wouldn't take away and that it was really a traditional looking film. It wasn't anything too fancy. We did add a few small effects just to emphasize certain parts, such as the loud music and the car starting and the song at the end. We created a little bit more emphasis in certain parts just to spike the audience's attention and to move the story forward. As for mise-en-scène, we definitely emphasized the color red. For example, in the beginning of the film, Jasmine, the character who's wearing the red shirt, is very loud and outgoing, as shown by her red costume. We made all of the titles red and we put them in the font Gaz. We thought this font was very friendly for the viewer to look at and emphasized our carefree spirit as it doesn't follow traditional point Times New Roman font. It's a little bit more fun, which promoted our idea of the free teen spirit that we show throughout the film. Our genre was definitely a teen drama, and our conventions definitely match that. I would say our film definitely builds an emotional connection with the audience. Many can relate to being a teen discovering freedom. The second question is, how do your products engage with the audience and how would they be distributed as real media products? Me and my partner researched a few media distribution companies and we decided that the one best for our film would be A24. We chose this company because it's a relatively new independent distribution company, so it's smaller, which means the distribution cost would be much less, which was perfect for our low budget considering this would have been our first film and it's not really a blockbuster hit. Our target audience is definitely teens and young adults. We believe this would be our target audience because this film would be most relatable to them. Since our target audience is the younger population, we believe that a more untraditional means of distribution would be most beneficial to us. So instead of just trailers and advertisements on big platforms such as cable TV, we believe that advertisements on more social media platforms like YouTube or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, even TikTok would be most effective considering of the large amount of social media that is used by younger adults and teens. The third question is, how did your production skills develop throughout this project? Well, I am first to say that my production skills tripled, quadrupled. They were practically non-existent compared to what they are now. I learned about camera positions, camera angles, mise-en-scène, editing techniques, and a lot about the film industry itself. Our class did many projects that required us to use our new abilities for editing and filming. It really let us apply our knowledge so that we retained the information. We did numerous stop motion films, 3-minute skits, cartoons, and a bunch of different film analysis. All of these projects made us better filmmakers, but this final project really pushed our limits. We got to put all the knowledge that we learned in this class right into our title sequence. We got to apply all of our new skills. It was very beneficial to everybody as filmmakers. My partner and I came up with our idea like the first week of school. We watched a couple examples as a class on what kids had done in the past from different schools, and it really spiked our interest. And what I really saw was that many of the title sequences were horror. Since my partner and I didn't want to be traditional like everybody else, we decided to not do horror, stray away from the norm, and do a drama. From the very beginning, we wanted to do a story of two teens that went on a road trip without a destination. We brainstormed for a few months about the idea. At first, we wanted a guitar campfire scene in the dark. We wanted a burnout for the opening frame. We wanted a few drone shots for a bird's eye view of the Jeep going down the road. But as we started storyboarding and it really started to come down to what we were really gonna do, we decided that we needed to be a little bit more conservative as our budget wasn't very friendly. In fact, we didn't spend a dime making the film. All of our products we already had, and the cameras and equipment the school provided for us. Since we didn't have access to things like drones or stage lights, professional editing software, we had to make a few adjustments, but we made sure that these adjustments did not contribute for a lack of quality. We tried our best to still incorporate all of the main parts, even without some of the desired equipment. For example, we still added the guitar scene, but it's a little bit more basic, just being in a bedroom. We wanted a drone shot, but I ended up coming across a bridge that overlapped this small street that we used to film the very ending of our opening sequence. This gave it kind of like a drone feel, so we could incorporate a little bit of that height that we wanted to. We did a rooster tail in the dirt instead of a burnout for one of the opening frames, just because we did not have access to an abandoned road, and in doing that on a public road would be considered illegal. During the process of making this project, we definitely learned how to overcome many obstacles. As for editing, my partner and I became very good at using iMovie, which was the primary thing that we used to edit on. One of the main things that we learned was how to splice and add audio to iMovie. For example, in the scene where Kat is playing guitar and Jasmine comes up to the door to ring the doorbell, the audio from the guitar scene is playing over the entire section of the video, while the doorbell sound effect plays over that. So we kind of had to cut the video part and move the audio over the separate videos and make sure that it was still lined up, because we had to try multiple times because the fingers wouldn't be lined up with the guitar playing and the doorbell wouldn't be lined up with when Kat looks up. So it took a few trials and errors, but we ended up getting it relatively fast. Also, when the Jeep starts and backs up, the audio of the car starting is not actually from the car, it's from a different vehicle that I had recorded 3 or 4 days prior. We had to line it up perfectly so it actually looked like it was the Jeep's noise and not a different car. Shooting was actually really easy. We did it all in one day. It took about 6 hours. I had a friend, her name is Zoe. She came over to help us film, which was very helpful. When my partner and I were editing up our title sequence, we did end up having to cut many of our favorite parts out of the project just because it was too long. I believe our first was close to 3 minutes when our max was 2. So we had to prioritize our scenes to make sure the sequence made as much sense as possible, even without these crucial scenes in it. For example, we had a scene where Jasmine pulls up in a car listening to upbeat music and dances in the driveway, and we had to cut that out because it was just too long. But that scene really contributed to the audience's understanding of what was happening. This is the scene that we wanted to include. As you can see, this scene would have definitely been beneficial to the audience's understanding of exactly what was going on, but it was not as crucial as some of the other scenes, so we decided to cut it entirely. This class definitely made me more knowledgeable as a filmmaker. I learned how to tell a story through a camera, how to prioritize, how to compromise, and how to create the best product based upon limitations. So question 4. How did you integrate technologies, software, hardware, and online in this project? We used quite a bit of technology producing our title sequence. We used a camera that was issued by our school. We used my iPhone 11's wide-angle lens for the wide-angle shots from the dashboard of the Jeep. We literally just duct taped the phone to the windshield, as you can see in this picture. We used a MacBook from the school in order to edit our sequence, as well as my personal computer to do some of the other parts of the project, such as what I'm doing now, the CCR, and the blogs. We did have a little bit of difficulties using the computers because they have an administer password on them, which means that you can't download anything on them without this certain password. We did contact a few teachers and they didn't know what this password was. So in order to get the song that we used at the end of the project, my partner came up with this idea to screen record off of YouTube the music video of the song and then put that video on the computer, add the video to the editing platform iMovie, and delete the video part and keep the audio component, and then put the audio component under the clips. As for settings, we basically just use the default autofocus, nothing too fancy, no extra lenses, no slow motion, nothing like that. The only thing I think fancy we used is the wide-angle lens on my phone, which is kind of weird considering the phone picture is actually clearer than the DSLR camera. Maybe we should have just used the phone for the whole thing. It's crazy how technology has become so versatile and portable. Based on our lack of experiences, we didn't try anything too out of the ordinary, just basic camera movements, basic editing techniques, basic settings, because we are still inexperienced, and although we have gotten better, I don't think we're ready for anything too fancy. So to wrap everything up, my partner and I had a great time creating our opening sequence for our movie All In. Our title actually came to us in class one day when we were thinking about a trip that we may want to take this summer. And my friend, or my partner, looked at me and said that she was all in, and that's where the title came from. We definitely worked well as a team. She did most of the mise-en-scène work, such as the costumes. If you noticed the beginning, before it says 3 months earlier, which we got that idea from the movie Bird Box, because they have a flashback scene as their beginning scene. So we took that, and we had Jasmine in a more edgy costume, while Kat's costume is not much different than the one she's wearing in the other scenes. But Jasmine's costume changes a lot, which shows that in the 3 months that she's become a more outgoing person by taking this trip. That was all her idea. The color red is also shown throughout the sequence, such as the title clips, Jasmine's costume, the red beads Kat is wearing, the bright pink guitar, and a couple other places throughout the sequence. We used red because it attracts the eye, it shows excitement, builds adrenaline, which is all things we want the audience to have when watching our film. My job was to organize our ideas, plan out our filming locations, which was around my house. She was like the director, and I made her vision come to life. We did a lot of research about the drama genre in general. We learned about how broad the drama genre really is. The drama genre can be anything from family-friendly sitcoms all the way to violent crime shows. We really had a lot to work with. We had a great time creating this project. We learned so much, and we hope you enjoyed our opening sequence.